Hey there, Nick here. In this video, we're going to go over how to delete unused or old local Git branches for a specific repo. And this Git function that we're looking at here is an alias that I've set up. And in this video, we are going to incrementally build this up from ground zero, starting from just running Git branch all the way to the end here where we're running optional pipes. Everything that we're going to run in this video is going to be linked in the description below. There's going to be a blog post with all the commands that I ran, as well as a link to my .files if you just want to snipe this and use it on your own. Now, the use case here is, let's say that you have a project that you're working on and you're using Git. And chances are, at least for me, I don't know about you, but when I'm developing a new feature, I'll typically check out a feature branch locally, start doing all of my work, and then I'll push that up to either GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, and then I'll open up a pull request to my main branch, let's say. And then hopefully it gets peer reviewed by at least one person, if not myself. And then eventually I will merge that pull request back into the main branch. And typically I like to do those merges remotely using my Git provider of choice, like potentially Bitbucket, GitLab, or Bitbucket, or GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket. So many different providers. Anyways, there's usually a checkbox or some option there where when you merge that pull request to the main branch, it is going to delete the pull request branch, but you're going to be left on your local machine with your branch that you checked out. So typically, I'll just do a git checkout to the main branch on my local box and then do a git pull to pull down the latest version after I merged it remotely. But still, oftentimes I forget to go and delete that old branch. And if you have a project that's been running for a while, you may run the git branch command and notice that you have potentially dozens or even 100 old stale branches that have been merged long ago. And, I like to keep things pretty tidy. So from time to time, I've gone in and manually deleted those. But then, I ran into this one project I was working on, and there was something like, 38 different branches that were just old cruft that I knew that I could safely delete. And I just didn't want to delete those all manually. And then I figured, you know what, I'm going to automate this, turn it into an alias, and then try to make it reasonably general purpose. And here we are, and that's where we're going here. Now, I did prepare one command here off to the side here that I'm just going to run here. And all this does is it just creates a new temp folder here called GCB. You can think of this one as get clean branches or clear branches, however you want to set that up, that mnemonic there. And all I do is cd into it, we initialize a new Git repo, touch a couple of files, basically commit them as the initial commit, and then we create a couple of new branches here. One called mastery, feature something cool, and then sandbox 123. I don't know if you're using Jira, maybe you can prefix your tickets with a Jira number or ticket or whatever, sub teams that you might have set up. Not super important for the sake of this video what these are, but I just wanted to make a couple of branches, check out the master branch here. And, here we are in that temp GCP directory here. And if I run the git branch commands here, we will see that we have a couple of branches, and the current branch that's currently checked out is the master branch, and that's where we are here. So, if we were to talk about how we might want to accomplish this, the goal here is to basically delete all the local branches that are stale. And we want to make sure that we don't delete all the branches because, we wouldn't want our master branch or main branch, or maybe you have a production branch or something to be deleted. You basically want, all of these different branches deleted. And so what we need to do is get a list of branches, which you saw we can run git branch to do that. But now we need to filter down this list to not include a couple of things. For example, we don't want to include the master branch, or maybe we decide to change this to be master or main or production, or, some branches that you want, basically an idea to be able to filter more than one of these. And then secondly to that, maybe you want to do some extra filtering to not delete the currently checked out branch. For example here, I'm on the master branch, but I'll just make a new branch here also called, current work or something like that, right? It doesn't matter, basically something that I'm currently working on. And if you were to run this alias, maybe you don't want this currently checked out branch to be deleted because, maybe it's a work in progress, things that you are going to commit and push a little bit later. So we want to do that additional filtering as well, perhaps. And then finally, once we have that filtered list of branches, we want to delete them. And before we delete them, it would also be nice just to make it a little bit easier to be able to see the list of branches that's going to be deleted before we actually delete them. So basically the concept of a dry run. So we're going to incrementally build up all the commands to do that and then create the alias at the end to make it a little bit easier to use. So we don't have to remember to type quite a few little piped commands here together. And, we saw git branch, right? That's basically the entry point into what we want to do here. And I'm actually going to go and check out the master branch here just to bring things back to how it was before. But yes, we've got a list of branches. Now let's do the first filtering of, let's ignore a couple of specific types of branches. So what we could do here is we can just use git branch to get our list of branches. Then we'll just pipe that into grep. And we can say that we want to, well, what do we want to do? We want to use a regular expression here. And we want to say that we want to not delete the main branch, not delete the master branch. And again, you can, add whatever branch names that you have in your projects here or that are consistent between them. Doesn't really matter how many you have, only that, you want to make sure to not delete ones that are very important that you keep around for a long time. So that is our regular expression. But before we run this, let's modify grep a little bit to do a couple of different things here, because, the way we have things written out now, like this is going to actually just give us nothing completely. Why? Because I probably messed something up here. Oh yeah, we have to do the -e flag here because we're using extended regular expressions here. So this would actually give us all the branches that we don't want to delete. And funny enough, like this is a good example of we need to add another flag here to grep. We don't want something like master and mastery. These are two different branches completely. So we want to actually configure grep to only match whole words only. For example, we want master to be matched, but we don't want mastery. So let's do that. Perfect, great. Now we just have the master branch here. Mastery technically will be deleted, but again, like, we've got the opposite of what we want. We want to basically delete everything but these branches. So grep has our back covered here, and we can use a different flag here called v, which is going to give you an inverted match on grep. So if we do that, then suddenly we get back a list of all the branches that we do want to actually delete, right? So again, if we do a get branch here, we see all the branches here, including the master branch. But when we filter it through this grep command here, inverted match, extended regular expressions, whole word only, then yeah, we can see that the master branch is not included in here, which is great because, these are the branches that we want to delete. But, like I said before, let me go and check out this current work branch here. And, we don't want the currently checked out branch to be deleted. And, in this example before I checked this out, I was on the master branch and we're kind of, already on the master branch, but the master branch is already excluded here. So we're just doing this as a secondary filter to make sure things work. And the secondary filter to that one is we are going to run grep again, also going to do that inverted match, also going to do whole word only. Oh my God, I can't say that phrase for some reason here. And but we're going to do a subshell here to actually run get branch. And this flag is going to be show current. And we can do show current here like this. And that is going to omit the current branch here as well. So we can see now the difference between the old command here was that, everything was listed here except for main and master. Now we have the same exact thing, except also in addition to that, we are not going to delete the current work branch. We can see that we have it here, but not here. And just to rewind this command a little bit, and by the way, you do need to have get 2.2 or above for this command to work. Basically, the show current flag is only for that version of Git and above. But if you run that, all it does, it just outputs the currently checked out branch that you have. So, if I were to check out the master branch, then it's going to say master here. I'll show you that real quick here. We can see show current master, great. So let me also, well, I guess we're gonna have to clear it anyways, but let me go back to this current work branch here, if I can spell, great. And then we can just rerun this command here and we can see everything is good to go, right? Master branch is not here. Current branch that we are currently on, which is current work, is also not here. And we basically sort of kind of solved our problem to the point where, this is a good dry run, right? We can see everything here, but we've not deleted anything at all. And the next step of this pipeline here is we need to then do something for all the results that are matched here, right? We want to delete this branch, delete this branch, delete this branch for all three of them. So what we could do is use the xargs command here. And then we can just run whatever this is, get branch D here. So for xargs is going to execute the command that we feed it here, which is get branch -D with a capital D here. That is going to delete the branch, but it's going to execute that command for this, this, and this. And if we run that command now, we will see that things have been deleted just as we expected here. Sandbox here got deleted, feature something cool got deleted, mastery got deleted. But if we run a get branch here, then we can see that the current work branch is still there, as well as master. So neither of those got deleted, which is exactly what we want. And if we were to do a get checkout on the master here branch, and we were to rerun this command, then we would expect now that the current work branch would be deleted because it's no longer currently checked out. So let's make sure that that actually works the way that we want, basically doing a dry run. Yep, there's the current work branch. And if we were to rerun the command again, then we can see that current work was deleted and we are good to go. But, there's some concerns with this method, right? Like if you weren't saving your shell history, are you really going to remember typing all of this out every single time you want to do it? Maybe it's something you only run once in a while, and that's good. And you can always look it up in your history. You can probably do something like an xargs get branch and fuzzy find that pretty quickly. But, kind of wanted to go one step further than that and actually set that up to be a get alias. And if you go back to this other tab here, this is what we're looking at here. And this does exactly the same thing. Get branch, there's the same flags, whatever, different order. But, there's a list of skip branches, and I've got that set up to be a variable here. And before we get into details line by line here, the last step of the puzzle here was to run that xargs on get branch d, but there's a condition here to only maybe do that unless we're doing a dry run. But that's basically how all of that comes together. And now let's go over this alias a little bit because there are quite a few interesting patterns here. So firstly, we have this one variable showing, master and main here as the official default whitelist. If you use different branches for a lot of your projects, then you may want to change that to be more reflective of what you use. Then we have two potential optional command line arguments that you can pass into this GCB alias here, or function. We can either choose to override this default branch whitelist, like maybe let's say that most of your projects are set up like this, but maybe you've got one or two projects where you also have like a production branch or a dev branch or something like that, and you just want to be able to run the command with that set up. You can do that. And the other optional one is passing in -- dry run to basically be able to see the output without actually doing the deletion. And, I didn't want to get too crazy in this one function here with parsing command line arguments. So I took it's not like a hacky approach here to it, but like if we have two optional arguments, like it's very possible that you only pass in dry run. But if the first argument that you pass in is expecting that to be a list of branches, then basically that's what this if condition handles here. Because, if you only run GCP, and by the way, let's run it here just so we can see. If I run GCP here with a dry run, we're actually probably going to get an error, and this is expected here. Nothing got returned because I did a dry run. If I were to run this without this will probably give us an error. Yeah, totally. Why? Because if we do a get branch here, there's actually nothing for us to delete. So just so I have some, more data to work with here, let me just pop in some of this command from before just to have a couple of branches set up for us. And now if you run GCP dry run, we can see that it works exactly how we did before, except now it's an alias here. And we got those three that we want to do. We can also do a checkout on mastery here and then rerun it again. And this time mastery is not set up here. Again, that current work branch that I had before, I just added that after the fact. So that was not even a branch that was created from that command that I pasted in. That only created the mastery feature, something cool, and the sandbox one. But yeah, this is all working good here. But, let's just say that you want to customize this list here to, do something else besides main and master. So you can do something like master here, and then like maybe you have a production branch or something like that. This is going to give you the ability to override the default list here. And we'll do dry run again here. And if we run that, then we can see that, the master branch is not going to be deleted. There's no production branch here as well, but maybe I can just do a get branch checkout production here, and we can just rerun this command here. And now we can also see that, we created that branch here. We are currently checked out to it. So let's not cheat here and just check out master branch here. And then we can run that, and yep, still we're all good. It is not going to delete that production branch. Or, let's just say that for whatever reason, like sandbox123 is your like special branch that you don't want to delete. There we go. It is not in the list. Everything is good to go. And so now you can choose to, do this command here as is, not the dry run. It is going to delete everything that we expected it to delete, but we still do have that sandbox branch saved because we wanted it to. And let me bring back some of those branches again. Like, I don't know if maybe we'll get an error this time around because I didn't delete everything, but let's see. We got an error at the end because sandbox already exists. Fine, no problem. But I was just going to show you real quick that, we can just run a dry run by itself. It's all good to go. You can run this one with or without a dry run, and that's basically it. So yeah, basically the idea here is if skip branches ends up being dry run, which would be the second argument being passed in. However, this variable comparison here is the first argument being passed in. So basically, we just have a single dry run flag. What do we do then? Well, then our skip branches actually will just use the default branch list here. And we will make sure that dry run, the second argument is really set to dry run here. Technically it's not a second argument because we only passed in one, but this variable assignment is basically populating that because it's going to be very important down here that this either is empty or not. But yeah, down here, same exact stuff that we did on the command line before. No difference whatsoever, except that the expression here that we have is popped into a variable instead of just hard coding it in there. For skip branches here. Likewise, with this one, same thing as before. And this is where it gets interesting over here, where we're doing basically the general pattern here is an optional pipe. And this is a pretty neat trick. I don't do this very frequently, but this is a pretty, I guess, common pattern way of doing it. So basically we have, we're piping the output of get branch into grep, and then we're doing the same thing for another grep. And then here we actually have squiggly braces here because we are running an if condition that says if dry run happens to be set, so the -n there is a condition that will be like, well, is this variable non-empty? Basically, is something populated in there, such as dry run? Then we are good to go, and we just want to take the output of this grep command and just cat it out. So basically, it's like a no op, like a null operation. Like we're not doing, like we still need the pipe to be here, like syntactically, but we're just saying like, yeah, just output whatever the output came from the previous command. Like basically, don't do anything. Otherwise, if the dry run is not n, which there is an opposite way of doing this too. Like if you do -z, that basically says like, is dry run empty? But we need both sides of the condition here, and that would be a double negative, kind of, in my mind at least. But yeah, we're saying here, else, if dry run is not set, then we just do xargs with our get branch -d here, and there's our end if at the end, and everything just works. So this is a nice little pattern just to do an optional pipe. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if you have any ways to improve the script, like what would you do differently? And for example, you might look at this like, if, then, else, end if here and be like, man, like, why don't you just do it like a regular condition, like a shorthand shell condition where you can do something like, let me just copy this a little bit faster. You could do technically like this it would work when you want it to work. So if you do this and then you do cat dash and then this and then xargs and get branch -d, I'm pretty sure that is the syntax that I want to do here. Yeah, because it's like, if that condition evaluates to true, then we basically do nothing. Otherwise, we do xargs get branch -d. So theoretically, you could take this and replace all of that. You'd still need the outer squigglies because that's just syntax for bash to make an optional pipe there, kind of. But this has some interesting side effects. In fact, I actually went to do this first, but if I do this, actually, let's do it together here. So let me get rid of this, paste that in there. And then, yeah, this will continue to work the same, I think. Let me confirm that exactly. So if I do source, where am I going? Source, github.files, config, zshell, aliases here. Great, okay. Let me, I don't need to do a dry run anymore. Let's just run it as it is and see what happens. Cool, so everything worked as we expected it to. These 3 that were dry runs now got ran without the dry run, and they all got deleted, and life is good here. There's our get branch, done. Cool. And that works. However, if we were to open up a new terminal here, go to my .files repo in the config, zshell, and then rerun shell check on that aliases file, then we are going to, I think technically, maybe I think I needed this too. It still works without it, but yeah, this is the one I wanted to show you here. Just note that A and B or C is not actually an if then else, because there is a scenario where you may run this here and you will potentially have a scenario where this gets executed when you might not want it to. And if I go to this shell check here for this one, they give kind of almost oddly enough, like an example of what we're doing a dry run. That was kind of funny because I did actually do this as my first implementation and then got the shell check warning and was like, wait, actually, that's a pretty good point. And the correct code here is basically what we have. We just condensed it down to one line just by using semicolons to make it a little bit easier. But, the rationale or like TLDR of how this could even happen here is, yeah, they say here for the code example above, if this script was run with standard out closed for whatever reason, explicitly you can run this to do that, then the echo would fail. But what would happen there is, the file would actually be deleted because we have an or here. So like the idea there is like dry run would be potentially true, I guess, and then this would be false. But if you have a true and a false and you have an or, then like if it's true or false, then this or would execute. I think that's maybe what that was. I could be wrong actually, but all I know is the whole endgame scenario here is like, yeah, if echo fails for whatever reason, or going back to our shell script over here, if this cat command were to fail for some reason, then I think that this would actually execute and delete some branches. Now, that could be fairly catastrophic depending on what you're working on, right? Like typically, you probably don't have too many branches that you haven't pushed up, but you never know. Like basically, I don't want get branches to be deleted accidentally. So I went for the longer form syntax just to be a little bit safer there. And that is what's commit and up in the dot files. So just wanted to throw that out there just to let you know that because I'm pretty sure, if you watch this video, you may have seen this and immediately were like, yo, Nick, like just use a shorthand syntax. No, that's why I didn't use it. In fact, like it's kind of interesting that this one is okay. Well, maybe because it's the other way around. I don't know. I'm going to save that battle for another day and kind of wrap it up on this one. In that, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer any of them. Again, if you have any improvements, let me know in the comments, open up a pull request, etc., etc. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next video.